You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Welcome back, my sassy friend, to another episode of Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, the Sassy Wealth Queen, the brains behind Transcendent Wealth Company and this podcast. And of course, today I have an awesome, amazing guest. I've actually been looking forward to this one, LaJuana Whitmore. She is the founder of Next Fem Financial and LaJuana Whitmore Consulting. She's a business strategist, accredited small business consultant, tongue twister, certified financial education instructor, a doctoral candidate, and university professor who's passionate about designing and innovating business models for all types of companies. In addition to an almost 20-year career with Target Corporation in business analysis, architecture, and strategy consulting, she has advised hundreds of small firms and nonprofits. LaJuana's personal mission is to create parity for women and underrepresented communities, helping them build wealth through entrepreneurship, education, and business development. Welcome, LaJuana. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And as we know, everybody, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, and it's also LaJuana's favorite subject, so fair warning. We're going to talk about money and all the things that go in and out of money because, as y'all know, I'm tired of money being a taboo subject. And LaJuana, I would love to start off with you telling us just a little bit about your journey with money. And then we're just going to dive deep.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family where, we were quite blessed. And we didn't want for a lot. If I wanted, and I'm old, I'm going to date myself right now. What was really big when I was in junior high were these rabbit jackets, these coats that had the patchwork rabbit fur on them. Because we're talking about the 80s, right? If I wanted something like that, my parents there was not really a lot of discussion about it. But on the flip side of that, there also just wasn't a lot of discussion about money in general. And my first real kind of encounter with managing my own money was when I went off to college. And as soon as you get to college, one of the first things that happens is you get about 10 different applications for credit cards.
Approvals for credit cards.
Yes. And
at least back then you did. I know.
But they don't come with instructions or warning labels. They just come with what in your mind is free money. And that's what I did. I went in for the free money, quote unquote free money, and I racked up all of my credit cards, and that was my first problem. What I know now that I didn't know then is that it wasn't as insurmountable as I thought it was at the moment, right? So there were other avenues. I ended up filing bankruptcy to take care of it, or I thought was going to take care of it, right? Again, not knowing the 7 to 10 year impact of making that decision, all those things. And had I had the right money mentors, had I had the right money conversations, I could have gotten out of that, what was then $5,000 worth of debt on my own without going that route. So I say all that to say, had there been conversations both inside and outside of my home about money, and real conversations, now that we're all old, my parents and I have conversations about money and about their hardships with money that we never knew about. And I wonder how my relationship with money would have been different had we had those conversations earlier.
Yeah, I grew up slightly different. I'm also going to show my age. I know about those rabbit jackets. Okay.
Yes.
However, I never had one.
Yeah.
I grew up with a single mom, and we didn't have money. So the only discussion about money was there was never any. And same way, I got out on my own, and Discover sends me this card and says, "You're pre-approved." And I'm like, free money. Okay. Yeah, no, it's not free.
No.
And y'all, and they put the fine print in this minuscule, I think they do it on purpose so that even if you have perfect eyesight, you need a magnifying glass to read.
But it also sends the message that it's not important. It's so small, right?
Right. And contrary to belief is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that conversation comes in, right? Because, especially for women, money is such a taboo subject.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when we go into women owning businesses and entrepreneurship. And I think it's, one of the things you were saying that you saw was that, with entrepreneurship, you've seen how so many of them struggle. And it's because they're focused on their service and their product. They want to make
Mm-hmm.
it work, they want to make the money, yet they don't have a sense of what it actually takes to
Mm-hmm.
the foundation to make sure the business works. I
Mm-hmm.
have clients who come to me and they're making 300, 400K a year plus, and yet they
Mm-hmm.
can't tell me how much money is net profit, and they
Yeah.
don't know where their money is going. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're not even paying themselves consistently. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the reason why they come to me is they're like, okay, we want to scale, but we don't even know if we can or not.
Right. Right.
And so that's where I come in, and as a fractional CFO, I go in and I say, okay, first of all, this is what we're doing here. We're building this
Mm-hmm.
money roadmap because, babe, y'all got to know what the hell's going on with your money first.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, because a lot of times they're afraid of being judged, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I filed bankruptcy. I've been on food stamps. I
Mm-hmm.
have always, when you think about talking to someone, been the fear of being judged. You're
Mm-hmm.
starting your
Mm-hmm.
business out. I can guarantee you, I told nobody that I was on food stamps
Yeah.
when I started my
Mm-hmm.
business, because think about it. People have been like, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to go nowhere. Which, of
Mm-hmm.
course, someone did say that. And as a 43-year-old at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I still do it, I love proving people wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I grew
Mm-hmm.
so fast, though, I still did not have the learning and the knowledge of
Yeah.
how the money stories affect how we manage our money. And so I
Mm-hmm.
want to know from you, what are some of the things that you've seen with, especially women entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs they're doing that are holding them back from creating the wealth that we want to create, right? Because if we create wealth, we're going to make a change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and if y'all don't know this now, honey, it's gonna be
Yeah.
women who are gonna change the world. So we
Yes.
need to get our
Yeah.
shit together, and we need to be standing on
Yeah.
our 2 feet, creating this wealth,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be us that's gonna change the world. There, I said it.
Yeah.
It's
That's very, that's,
it's
no,
done.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I look, I am right there with you. I think there are a few things. So number one, it's shame. There's so much shame associated with money. It's actually, when I started to realize that, it's really surprising. And so that is often some of the root cause behind, um, people's lack of management on their personal money side. And so what people don't realize is these things are connected. They are connected. And
You
meaning if
said that. I am
you,
so glad
yes,
you
they are
said that.
connected.
See, y'all, I am not the only one.
Mhm. Meaning most likely in this, it's connected. And if you go to next10financial.com in the about us section, the research is there that shows these things are connected. Most likely the way you manage your personal finances is going to be the way you manage your business finances.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot bring habits that you didn't learn over here to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to build the habits in your personal financial management so that you can have better habits managing your business finances. And then the third connection is, once you manage your business finances well, it oftentimes, most times, affects the performance of your business because you're better able to make informed decisions based on your financial situation,
Yeah.
all these things that go along with that. So if we go back to the root cause, right, one of the root causes, which is personal financial management and shame, um, there's so much, it's almost like alcoholism or drug addiction, right? Like people are doing things that they are shameful of, hiding purchases, uh, opening up their apps, that, Amazon app in the middle of the night and buying things. There are things that they do that they are ashamed of, but the problem is they don't know why they're doing it. And that's the real root cause. So when we take the time to understand our money story, our money autobiography, as I like to call it, why we think about money the way we think about it. And for lack of a better way, it all stems in childhood, right? It all stems from how your parents did or did not manage their money well, how they talked about money. If they didn't talk to you, the conversations that you overheard, right?
Society, yeah.
Absolutely. All of those things feed how you think about money and then therefore how you manage your money. So if you go, so when you have people that give you, here's a budget spreadsheet, go forth and manage your money, that doesn't work because you didn't address the reason why you weren't managing. A spreadsheet is the tool. It's not the reason why you can't manage your money.
Right, right,
Yep.
right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I agree because, here's the thing is that when we have that shame, um and that's one of the things that I stress is that there is no judgment. I tell people who are looking to work with me, listen, there's no judgment because anything and everything that you're going through
Mm-hmm.
or thinking or whatever, I've already done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've already been there, done that, lived
Yep.
through it, like
Mm-hmm.
come to the other side of it. And one of the things I want to stress too is that ideally, yes, you want to change how you um, manage your personal money. However, it is possible to learn and change how you do your business and then carry that over to personal because that's how I
Yeah.
did it. Because when I started my business, it was because I was let go. And then I grew so fast. And again, I was
Mhm,
on food stamps. I grew so fast. But at the end of the year, I was still broke. And I
mhm,
was like,
mhm.
okay, what the actual hell? I mean, if I'm gonna
Yep.
do this, I mean, I still don't yes, if I'm gonna do it and I was gonna barely make ends meet, then I wanted to be on my terms, and I
Mhm.
didn't wanna still barely be making in like, I at the end of the year, I
Yeah,
was like, "I wanna do a little bit more than that. I don't wanna be broke."
yeah.
And so
Mhm,
that's when I did this deep dive into the money stories, the managing the
mhm,
money and how it all correlates. And then I changed um I I worked on it, right? I mean, it's been a process. It's always a process. I'm still a work in
mhm,
progress. We always will always be. And one of the things that I did though is I started with the gratitude and I started with my that money roadmap dashboard that I
mhm,
built. And as I started doing it, it was from reading several books, Psychology of Money, Profit First.
mhm, mhm,
Um, oh, what's the other one? I got it back there. Happy Money. That's one of my favorite
mhm,
ones. Which I've started reading again. Um, all those things, and I took the concepts of them, and then what worked for me. Right, there's some things I didn't like in some of them, but
Yeah,
that's okay. It's
of
one of the
course.
things we learn right when we were with the coach or when we're reading. We take what's good, what we
Yes.
need, and we leave the rest.
Mhm,
And I created this money roadmap dashboard, and I love calling it my wealth roadmap, but
mhm.
this money roadmap dashboard, and all of a sudden I was like, "Ooh, okay, virtual envelopes for having actual accounts.
Mhm,
How can I do this And so as I started doing it in business, I went and did it in the personal. People
mhm,
joke with
mhm,
me and they
mhm,
laugh at me because if you ask me how many savings accounts I have with my personal, I'm like, a lot. I didn't start off with a lot, okay?
Yeah. Mhm,
And as I decide I need to, I have these accounts and they're holding accounts. Money is
mhm,
allocated and money stays in there. And if it's
mhm,
not in there, then I don't go out to eat or I don't buy purchase stuff. It's
mhm.
money
And that
who's
works for you.
allocated, right?
Yep, and that
And it
works for
works.
you. Mhm,
And sometimes and a lot of times it works for a lot of my clients. The
mhm.
key is finding something that works. And for me,
Yep.
if it's not in my main account, then
Mhm,
I won't spend it,
mhm.
right?
It's like it's not even there. Mhm. Yep.
Exactly. And then even better, it's in a different bank. So it takes 2 to 3 days for it to even become available. So
Mhm.
I can't go, oh, I'm just gonna spend it anyway.
Right,
Um,
right.
and so it's the whole point though is like you said, how you manage your money over here is how you're going to manage them over there. So if you're doing your personal a certain way and we're working on your business, I guarantee you, I know I will, and I'm pretty sure Luana will too. We're gonna say, okay, we've got this done. Now we coming over here to start working on this because
Mhm.
otherwise it's a no deal because
Yes.
they mix in, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's just really important. What are some of the the ways that we can bridge that gap between the personal and business financial management, because it's so crucial for women, especially women in business, right? Because we want to build wealth. We want to work. My thing is I want to teach women entrepreneurs how to work smarter, not harder with their money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that you can do what you love and not be so stressed over the money, because honestly, money's a tool and you don't have to be stressed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, so I think going back to that, your idea of, this works for me. And to your point, different things are going to work for different people. And some of that is trial and error and figuring out what works for you and not being afraid of it. And I think we can do the same thing with our business as we do with our personal. So let's say we're doing a 20, 30, 50 budget, right? So 50% goes to needs, 30% goes to, wants, and 20% goes to savings, whatever it is. So whatever your budget is, you can create a similar program in your business. As money comes into the business, how is it allocated? Right. So just like you said, money comes into my account and it automatically is allocated. Same here. Money comes into my personal account and it automatically goes all these places. Now, whereas entrepreneurs, we don't have the freedom or the benefit of doing it up front, right? Like with our employers, we have to do it on the back end, right? But we have to do it. So when money hits my personal account, it goes to my investment account, it goes to my savings account, it goes all the places. We can do the same thing in your business, right? As money comes into my business, I've got an account over here that holds my taxes. I have an account over here that pays my business bills. And I have an account over here that does this. So that has a savings account. And then whatever's left over goes into my personal account.
I have 8.
Yeah, right. And then whatever's left over comes to my personal account, and then that gets allocated, right? And so we can do the same thing. It really is understanding, how does money flow into your life, and then where does it go? I literally made a flow chart of how money comes in, and when it hits this point, what happens? When it hits this point, what happens? And so just kind of mapping that out, I think, would be super helpful for women. Yep.
Yeah. 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 And the key to that is understanding where your money is going. So like one of the things I have my clients do is, when we build their dashboard, is they pull, and I tell them, yes, I'm asking them to chop down trees. I'm asking them to print paper. because when it's on paper, black and white, in front of you, and you're actually having to highlight, it's making your brain be more aware of what the hell is going on. Whereas if you're just highlighting it on the computer, like some people do, and I'm like, nope, you must print it. 90 days, last 3 months, print it, highlight these different types of expenses. And we do it business and personal. And there's a reason. Again, it's because sometimes we're like, oh, I only spend this much on coffee a month, or I spend about this much on food, or this much on groceries, or this much on out to eat. Are you sure? Yes.
No.
Okay. Print the last 90 days for me. Go highlight all these different categories in different colors. Total them up. And I'm telling you, LaJuana, you know what happens, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I did not realize.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason why I have them do that is because I've done it. And y'all, as a fractional CFO, every quarter, at least, let me correct myself, at least twice a year, every 6 months, at least every 6 months, I go and pull the last 90 days. I try to do it every quarter. One, because I want to make sure my dashboard is correct and there hasn't been any, because here's the thing, groceries are going up, gas prices have gone up.
That's takes you by surprise.
So your 90-day pulling for those 9 days lets me know, oh, okay, wait a minute. I need to adjust my I need to adjust my money roadmap, my budget, whatever the hell you want to call it. I need to adjust it because gas prices have gone up. Right now, if you've done a few extra trips, oh, okay, did I take those into account? Out of the trip account? Oh, because I have a trip account, y'all. And if I did, okay, great. I don't need to adjust the budget. You see what I'm saying? The key is knowledge. Knowledge is power. And when we know what the hell is going on with our money, we can make these knowledgeable decisions, and we can decide if we're going to invest in a coach, if we're going to be able to pay ourselves more, we're going to be able to invest more in the stock, or whatever it is we're wanting to do. Right. And a lot of times we don't know, because we don't know what's going on with our money. And I've had several clients who are like, oh, I just spend, a little bit every week on Starbucks. I like Starbucks. Y'all come back every time. And let me just tell you the amount of money that is spent on Starbucks.
That's crazy.
And here's the thing. And here's what I tell them, though. They're afraid then that I'm going to tell them they can't spend any money at Starbucks. And that's not what I do. That's not what I do. Here's my answer. Are you okay with how much money you're spending a month at Starbucks? Is that where you want that much money being allocated? If the answer is yes, great. Add it to your
Let's go it. Absolutely. It's so funny.
9 out of 10 times they say no. And that's when we go, hey, we need to make adjustments.
Yeah. There's so much to address there. So to your point, knowledge is power in all aspects of life, not just with money. But what's keeping people from learning is the shame. Think about what the physical representation of shame is. It's covering my eyes, covering my face, hiding,
burying my head in the sand.
That's pulling the blanket over my face. Those are all physical representations of shame. And so when I'm doing that, that means I'm not looking. If I'm not looking, I cannot learn. I cannot see, right? And so we've got to tackle that thing first, right? And so it's super, that is like super, super important. I also love the way you ask, are you okay, spending that? That's what I call having a value-based money mindset, right? If you value expensive shoes, that's beautiful, right?
I see damn dashboard.
Then we're gonna set up your budget in a way that allows you to buy expensive shoes. If you value family experiences, God damn it, you can't spend money on shoes, right? Because you're going to be spending money on the trips and things you're going to do with your family. It's all about what you value. But again, we've got to tackle that first. You have to know who you are.
Right.
At your core, you have to know what your values are before you can create a money plan that fits with who you are. So,
when I work with my clients, one of the first things I tell them is I want to know what their desires, their goals, and their values are. And they look at me and go, why? And I'm like, because we can build a dashboard. We can build a money roadmap, budget. I call it a money roadmap. So we can build that money roadmap. You're not going to use it if you think it's restrictive.
No.
Living proof. And part of having a money roadmap is not just the things that you have to pay, like your rent, your lights, whatever, but it's also to build in the things that you want. Same thing with business.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, you need to allocate money for taxes. Okay. Do you also want a coach? Do you want a team? Okay, great. Let's make sure that money is in there so that you can do those things. If you want to give yourself a raise, let's make sure there's money growing so that you can do that. And when you build a business and make that change, y'all, it's the sky is no longer the limit.
Right. Absolutely.
Because now you have that knowledge, and now you don't have blinders on. I had a client,
and that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. Lifting up the hood and looking under for the first time is the hardest part. That is where I've seen tears. I've seen I cannot believe I spent $3,000 on this. I didn't even know I was still paying for that subscription or these subscriptions. I mean, that's the hardest part is the first. But once you look for the first time, every time after that, and then soon you get your emotions become separated from the money, and you are literally just looking at it to facilitate how am I going to spend my money going
just
forward.
Awareness. It's awareness. And I do not like I'm going to go ahead and say it. I do not like the Rocket app. I'm going to go ahead and say
it. I think I tried it a while back.
Here's the reason why. At least at first, One is not having you be aware. And again, it's an app. So it's not perfect. However, when you print, yes, burn down some trees. When you print the paper and you are looking at it and looking at what's coming out of your account and looking at you become aware. Y'all, I check my bank account every day. Not to stress over it, but I check it to look at what is going on with my money. Okay, did the deposit that I was expecting come in? Did the expenses again, the dashboard, did the expenses that are showing were supposed to come out, did they come out? Okay, they did. Oh, wait, there's a duplicate charge. Why is there a duplicate charge? Don't pay attention to it. You'll never know there's a duplicate charge.
No,
I wouldn't have known that they did duplicate charge and then turn around and refunded me if I wouldn't have looked at it.
And the banks know you're not looking. So they're not looking, right? So they know like anything could be happening in your accounts. This day and age, anyone could have gotten access to your account, sold your information on the dark web, and you have no idea until, to your point, that charge comes up or whatever. So I'm a technology chick. I love technology. So all of my accounts, all of my cards, I have. If someone charges anything over $1, I get a notification. If I get every Wednesday, I get a balance update on everything. So I know what's happening with my accounts. And if it's something like, wait a minute, those notifications is how I knew.
I get an alert anytime my card is used. That was how I was like, all of a sudden I got an alert telling me my card was used, and it was a weird amount, but it wasn't like, thousands of dollars. It was just like, I don't know. I think it was like 26 something. And I looked and I went, okay, well, this is in California.
And I am not.
I was not currently in California. Okay. I'm in South Carolina, and I'm like, I didn't make this, and it wasn't Amazon. Okay. Cause if it was Amazon, that's one thing, and I said, no, I didn't make this. What the hell is this? And immediately I'm going in looking. And again, I'm like you, I'm all about technology, and I make sure that I go and still look myself regardless, because again, those apps, the technology is not perfect. It's just another layer of what we can do, right?
Yeah.
What we can do to help.
It doesn't substitute for our knowledge.
No.
Yeah. And it's so funny that those notifications is how I knew my wallet was thrown out of my purse one day. Oh, I just started getting all these notifications. Your card's used here. Your card. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm in my car. So what's going on? Yep. That's how I knew.
And that's the thing. It's like you said, the notifications are to give you a buffer. Okay. But what I have found is so many people make the transfers automatic, and certain things are automatic. That's fine. But they make everything automatic debit, automatic this. And then what happens is they do not pay attention. Some of my clients, I actually put them on restriction from having automatic transfers. And you're going to say, why? Because they were literally becoming blind, putting blinders on. They're using it as blinders. So when you have to make the transfers manually, I am making you look at your money to know what's going on. And that's so important. I had a client who, she told me, she said, if it wasn't for you, she said, I would not have been so sure of myself when I looked at my numbers. And she has a team. And she recognized that someone wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing, seeing the clients they were supposed to be seeing. She said, and having that conversation and setting the boundaries and being so sure of myself that, okay, this is what I expect. You're not meeting this. This is what's required. And if you don't do it, she said, if I wouldn't have had the knowledge that I have and have you helping me and working with me and us as a team, I would not have had that sureness. She said, a couple of years ago, I would have never done that. She said, I would have been so stressed. I wouldn't have had those conversations. That's what happens when you have the knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with having someone LaJuana, me,
right.
No. Having a fractional CFO, having someone on your team who can help you, to help you take those blinders off and it not be so scary. Because y'all, I wish I'd have had someone helping me take my blinders off. I instead had to rip it off like a Band-Aid.
It
was very painful.
Scary. And it's so funny,
It wasn't scary. It was painful.
Yeah. But people are always surprised when I tell them that I pay the majority of my bills manually. So there's
You
maybe like a
do?
few. So there's
Oh,
there are very few, like Netflix, that kind of stuff comes out automatically. But
only
everything
what is
else,
required.
yep, only what is required is automatically paid. And what that does is on my calendar, on the first of every month, I pay every bill for that month. But it forces me to go through and say, okay, wait a minute, what? I spent, so it forces me to look at everything every month, right? Otherwise, you don't find out till after the fact that your phone bill went up, that your health insurance premiums went up,
Mm-hmm.
that all of these things happened. You don't find out until the money comes out oftentimes, right? So yeah, I absolutely manually pay
Everything
the
manual.
vast
Everything
majority
manual.
of my bills on the
Yep.
first, and
Manual.
it's every bill for the month on the first. That's what
Yeah,
I
no,
do.
I do it twice because I pay myself on the
Mhm.
1st and then
Okay.
normally on the 12th or
Mhm.
15th. And so when I do it on the 1st, it's everything that's in
Mhm.
my block of what I'm doing, and it doesn't matter if it's due later, it's
Yeah.
paid.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's one of the
Exactly.
reasons why I
Mhm.
don't like the automatic is because I want it out of my account.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then
Yep.
after that, it's from the 15th through 31st. So, like,
Mhm.
my sewer bill is not due until the 31st. Well, guess
Mhm.
what? When I pay myself on the 15th, the first thing I do is go pay that sewer bill. That sewer bill is
Yep.
paid way in advance. And
Mhm.
then I make my transfers. I still do my transfers manually. And that again is because,
Mhm. Mhm.
okay, are my girls needing something more,
Than
But
normal. Yep.
I have it on the computer, but then I also print it out because when it's in front of me, I can make notes and I can look and say, "Oh, you know what? I need to adjust this time. Oh, this went up a little bit.
Mhm.
Okay, I need to make sure I'm adjusting it for the next month." I update it because again, it's a tool. If you don't
Mhm.
update it and utilize it correctly, then it ain't
It's
going
not
to
gonna
do
give
shit.
it's not gonna give you the right information to make decisions.
And you're
Exactly.
gonna be
But I
like,
think
"This doesn't work." Well, it's kinda like an app or a program. If you put shit in, what's gonna come
right.
out?
Exactly. Exactly. I think this is such an important conversation to hear how different people do the same thing. As
Mhm.
long as we get to where you
But
want to
we
get,
still pay it manually. Like,
right.
most people like, "You do
Yeah,
what?"
they do. They do. They do. No, but it keeps my it. This is how, because I'm actually not a very detailed person, but I
It
know
makes
this
you
about myself.
it makes
I
you
know this about
aware.
myself. Yep. And so I've built systems in my personal life and in my business that force me to be detailed because I don't actually want to. And so that process, me sitting down on the first of every month and paying every bill, and I actually schedule them out for the due date. But for me, it forces me to be detailed. It forces me to look. It forces me to ask questions. Because otherwise, if it was automatic, I wouldn't ask any questions. I wouldn't look.
Right.
That's just my
You wouldn't look.
personality.
You wouldn't
No.
look. And and
Hmm.
and and that's the thing is society has taught us not to look. I mean, think about it. We
Yep.
went from
Hmm.
this is going to show my age. We went from not having any type of card to having this
Hmm.
ATM card that because before when we had to pull money, we had to go inside the bank to pull money. And if it was after
Yes. And you had to
hours,
count it. And it was physical. You touched it. You
and if it was
counted it.
after hours, guess what?
You didn't get nothing.
You weren't getting nothing. There wasn't no ATM machine, okay? You just weren't getting
Oh,
shit. That's how old I
nope.
am.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I
And then
know.
we got the ATM card. And I
Hmm.
told someone the last time, I remember the very first place that we could use the ATM card to go get fast food.
Hmm.
And it was
Where was
McDonald's.
that?
It was
Was McDonald's?
McDonald's.
Okay. Hmm.
I haven't eaten
And
McDonald's
that's
in
and
years.
you probably.
McDonald's. It was McDonald's. And we didn't have to have cash? What?
Hmm.
I mean, because we love the fact that, so we didn't do fast food much because people would have to go to the ATM to pull
Right.
cash and go to the fast food, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
so then when they started taking the ATM card, and then everybody started taking it, and then the debit card
Hmm.
came. Okay, so the debit card then became a tap. So now all we got to do is
Hmm.
take the debit card, tap, tap, tap.
Hmm.
Before it was swiping, right? The strip went by.
Hmm. Hmm.
Literally, tap, tap, tap. Society's made it so easy for us to
Hmm.
put blinders on. I'm like you.
Hmm.
I'm analytical naturally,
Hmm.
and I know me well enough to know that if I don't have majority of that stuff manually,
I'm not
And if
going to
I
do it.
can go ahead and pay it now
Mm-hmm.
before the due date, I want it out of my account.
Mm-hmm.
If it can't be, then I look and I see, okay, I know these aren't going to come out yet,
Mm-hmm.
and but I can still look, add it up, and I know, okay,
Yep.
where I'm at.
But think about that progression from holding and counting money to writing checks, like physically writing the
Let me tell
numbers
you something.
to
Keeping the
now
damn
just,
checkbook was next to
yeah.
impossible. Because let me tell you what, I started rounding the deposits down and the
And then,
amount that I wrote it for up whenever I subtracted, because I would end up not
yeah,
balancing
yeah,
no matter, because you
yeah,
get one number off.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you were connected to it, right?
Uh-huh.
Having that pin on the paper and that paper in front of you, you were connected to it, just like you were connected to money. And now when you can literally never pull anything out, right? Like a watch is now your how you pay, or your phone, or you're on your computer and your computer has
Yes,
everything
yeah,
saved in it.
I won't
I don't
attach
even
my
have to.
cards to my phone. I won't even attach nope.
But we are so now separated
Mhm.
from what actual money is and what it does and how it like even physically operates, that it's just like this almost like imaginary thing,
Right,
right?
and that's where
Yep.
and then the blinders come out,
Yep.
right? The
Hmm.
blinders now put on. So what me and LaJuana are talking about is what we're trying to get you to understand is, okay, we need to take these blinders off. Yes,
Yep.
you can have the freedom to do what you want to do with your money, and you still need to know what the hell's going on with your money in order to
Hmm.
have the
You have
freedom.
to.
Yeah,
You have to.
otherwise you're
I mean,
in a
it's just
feast
like
and
your
famine
business.
cycle.
Yeah, but it's just like in your business. If I ask you, what are your top 10% of selling items, bottom 10%? If you don't know that, how do you make decisions about your assortment? If you don't know, if I ask you, who is your target market, explain it to me in 3 sentences or less. If you can't do that, how are you selling them anything? Right. So it's all about, to your point, knowledge is power. If I
Mhm.
know, if I don't have blinders on, if I'm actively, okay, I'm going to emphasize that word, actively looking, learning, and remaining curious about
Mhm.
how money works, about how my customers think, about how my products sell, I'm able to make better decisions. It's just that simple.
Yep. And
Mhm.
that's where those metrics come in, right?
Yes,
Knowing
yeah.
these metrics, knowing um okay, you need a team. You want a team. You're look perfect examples. I'm looking at hiring another VA. Okay, what is that going to look like?
Mhm, yep,
Am I in the position, right? And I have a PR person that I want to bring on board.
yeah,
Okay, I already know I'm going to hire her. What is that going to look like? Can I do it
right.
now, or am
Mhm,
I going to be doing it later? Right?
mhm.
And people are like, oh, just go do it. No, no,
No,
no,
no.
because you don't want to make decisions
Mhm.
that are going to, I'm just gonna say it, gonna bite you in the ass because you
Yeah,
didn't
yep.
know your money. And so when I look at it, I analyze it and say, okay, if I do it now, this is what this looks like.
Mhm,
Oh, you know
mhm,
what? My group program is selling, it starts selling out.
mhm,
Okay, I'll be okay to go ahead and do this. You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
So it's knowing what's
Yep.
going on with your money. And
Mhm,
and there's all these different aspects that go into it. And
mhm.
when we take those blinders off, we become empowered instead of
Yes,
controlled by our money. And I think that's, if
yes,
you get
yep.
anything out of this, because me and Luana could probably talk for hours.
I know, yeah, we could, 'cause I think
Like,
it
I've already decided she's coming back on, so don't worry about it. Um, we're because we're gonna close really soon. The- if you get anything out of it, I want you to understand taking the blinders off. And even if it's just baby steps, taking those baby steps are just so,
Mhm,
so, so important. Luana, you
mhm.
have a free gift from my listeners for my listeners. Will you please let them know, tell them about it? It was a quiz. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. If you go to nextfemfinancial.com or next-fem.com, right on the homepage, there's a free money quiz. It helps you understand what you know and what you don't know about money. And it's a really great starting point to say, okay, well, I'm kind of a little bit under educated in investing. Maybe that's where I should focus. That's where I should start. So it's a really quick 10 question quiz to help you understand what your foundation is in terms of knowledge around money.
Awesome. And they just got to sign up, give them their email. And
That's
then
it.
when
That's
they do
it. It's free.
send them a results type thing automatically.
Yep.
Awesome.
The results will come up on the screen, and then they'll also get an email that explains why each one of those points is super important.
Yeah. I like that. I like it because those points are really, really important. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. I've already decided she'll be back, so don't worry.
All right, that's fine.
Because we could have this conversation forever, okay? Because she's a woman after my own heart. We're twinsies, and we didn't even know it.
Right.
My sassy listeners, I want you to understand that it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be stressful. You do, however, have to take the blinders off, and you have to look at your money, period. Mm-hmm. You have to, and that's business and personal, everything. You have to. So until next time, remember, stay sassy and make sure you're looking at your money so that you can build that wealth that you deserve to build. So until next time, bye.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.